Dear students, today we discuss about coral reef formation. So this is generally coral reefs are cylindrate exoskeletons. Corals are solitary or colonial polyploid cylindrates living in a secreted skeletons formed of calcium carbonate deposition of their own. Generally, corals are exoskeletons of cylindrates. Some corals grow into massive solid structure, others form large branched colonies. Corals formed by general hydrozoan polyps or stage horn or pepper, which are called millipores. Most of the corals belong to the class Anthozoa and a few to the class Hydrozoa. The coral of each polyp is called corallite. The single polyp coral is called corallite. Thousands of corallites fuse together to form a large coral stone called corallium. The thousands of polyps unite together, they can form a corallium. Next, structure of the coral. Generally, the polyps can secrete the corals. Okay, the coral also looks like hydra. Okay, generally these are the coral polyp has tentacles, nearly 8 to 24 tentacles are there, and in between the tentacles the mouth is present. The mouth opens into stomodium, and stomodium directly opens into cylindrion, and the cylindrion surrounded by a number of mesenteries. Generally, mesenteries are structures of the um, perisarc, cenosarc, structure of the cenosarc. Okay, the mesenteries are formed by the invagination of cenosarc. Okay, so in between mesentery the skeleton, calcium carbonate skeleton is secreted, and these the blade like structures are called septa or sclerosepta. At the base of the sclerosepta some columella is there, and the one basal plate is there. So nothing but the polyp is the polyp can secrete the corallite or corallium. Types of corals. Corals are produced by two classes of cylindrates. They are hydrozoa and anthozoa. Hydrozoan corals. The hydrozoan corals are called hydrocorallium. Among hydrozoa, corals are produced by only few animals like Millipora and Stelasterina. Only two orders organisms can producing the corals in hydrozoa, that is Millipora and Stelasterina. These are two orders. Anthozoan corals. Most of the corals are produced by anthozoan. The anthozoan corals are two types. They are actocorallian corals, hexacorallian corals. Two anthozoan corals are produced. One is actocorallian corals, hexacorallian corals. Actocorallian corals. The actocorallian polyps are colonial polyps with 8 branched tentacles. Actocorallian corals can producing 8 branched tentacles. Sorry. The corals contains spicules of calcium carbonate. Actocorallian corals are included in the orders Alcyonacea, Stolonifera, Cynothicalia, and Gorgonacea. The actocorallian corals produced by mainly four orders. First one is Alcyonacea, second one is Stolonifera, third one is Cynothicalia, and fourth one is Gorgonacea. Alcyonium, it is also called dead man's finger. Tubifera, it is also called organ pipe coral. Heliopora, this is blue coral, and Gorgonia, it is sea fan. And now hexacorallian corals. Sorry. The hexacorallian polyps are colonial polyps with 6 unbranched tentacles. Spicules are absent, and they produce two or stone corals. They are included in order Madrepora. Generally, Madrepora orders organisms can producing the corals. The Madrepora is also called stage horn coral. Meandrina, it is also called brain coral. Fungia, it is also called mushroom coral. Okay, so fungia is mushroom coral, and this is fungia. It is mushroom coral. tubifora, it is Stage-horn coral. Heliofora, this is a blue coral. Gargonia, it is sea fan. And Madreporaria, it is nothing but corallium. And this is Millipora, and this is Alcyonium. Okay, these are the different corals which is present in the coelenterate. Coral reefs. Coral colonies grow continuously in size by budding of polyps and often after form extensive masses known as coral reefs. Coral colonies grows continuously in size by budding of polyps and after form extensive masses known as coral reef. According to Wagon, a coral reef is a mud of limestone. The mound of limestone. Limestone means which is made up of calcium carbonate. The upper surface of the which is near to the surface of the sea and which is formed chiefly calcium carbonate secreted by coral polyps. The principal builders of coral reefs are stony corals, that is a Madreporaria. Reef building corals requires warm shallow water. Normally the water temperature is about 20 degrees Celsius. The Pacific northeast of Australia is called coral sea. So whenever the sea temperature nearly near to the 20 degrees Celsius and from the depth is 30 fathoms from bottom to sea surface, that is a suitable environment to grow the corals. Now the types of corals. There are three types of corals are there. Number one, fringing reef. Second one is barrier reef. Third one is atoll. Number one, fringing reef. Coral reefs lying close to the seashore. Some volcanic island is called fringing reef. Whenever the volcanic islands are formed and the near to these volcanic island, the fringing reefs are developed. The spread of the flat shape is up to 14 kilometers, and the fringing reef has two regions, namely reef flat, reef edge, and seaward slope. Here, this is a fringing reef. The island is there. The near to the island, the fringing reefs are there. These fringing reefs are surrounded by the island. Okay, here and the areas are there. This is island where the plants are present, and from island to the generally the slope was increased, and again the reef edge is formed. The mountain like region is there, that is called reef edge. Sometimes the reef edge to island the flat is there, that is called reef flat. If the place between reef edge and island is shrunken down, so that is called lagoon. So this type of fringing reefs are present, number of reefs are present around the world. This is about fringing reef, and the in between the island is there. The island is totally surrounded by the reef edge. This is a white line surrounded by these fringing reef, especially from island to reef edge. Some nearly 14 kilometers area is there, that is called a reef flat. If the area is shrunken, that is called a lagoon. And second one is barrier reef. Barrier reefs are like fringing reefs, but they are located some distance away from the shore. These are distance away from the shore. The sea water lying between the island and the reef is called lagoon. Okay, here. So here the island where the trees are present, this is island, and gradually slope is increased, and again the slope was decreased, and the high altitude region like is present, that is called reef edge. Between reef edge and island, the shrunken area is there, so this area filled with water, that is called lagoon. The lagoon length is very high, sometimes it reaches to up to 30 kilometers. And the Great Barrier Reef is present where the northeast of Australia. So this northeast of Australia is called Coral Sea. This is called Coral Sea. Okay, the Great Barrier Reef present at the northeast of Australia. and third one is atolls. It is termed as a coral island or lagoon island. It is circular or horseshoe shaped. Generally, here the circular fringing reef is cuts uh, the circular fringing reef is cutted by the water current of the tidal waves. Okay, now so this is sometimes it is looks like C shape, sometimes it is looks like horseshoe shaped. Okay, so in atolls the great depth center point is there, that is called lag- lagoon. Lagoon. Generally, atolls are looks like C-shaped or O-shaped. Generally, nearly 90% of the corals are formed by these atoll reefs. Atoll reefs. Okay, so these are the atoll reefs. So we can see clearly seen in this Dangsha Atoll National Park. Okay, this is atoll. Formation of coral reefs. Many theories have been advanced to explain coral reef formation, but none are entirely satisfactory. Two theories seem uh, to be some convincing. Two theories seems to be of some convincing. So the two theories are Darwin's subsidence theory, Dali glacial control theory. First one is Darwin's subsidence theory. This theory was proposed by Charles Darwin in 1831. According to this theory, coral reef starts growing on sides of the island as a fringing reef. Generally, the coral reefs are grows on sides of the island as a fringing reefs. After fringing reefs, the reef flat is deepens to form a lagoon, that converting fringing reef to barrier reef. So the island then shrinks down, the converting the barrier reef into atolls. Okay. So generally, according to Darwin's substance theory, the if one island is has a proper temperature nearly 20 degrees Celsius, the the island the seashore bottom to sea surface 30 fathoms depth is there, the coral growths are takes place. Okay, so according to Darwin's substance theory, primarily fringing reefs are formed, fringing reefs are modified into barrier reefs are modified into atolls. This is about Darwin's substance theory. Next, second one is Dolly glacial control theory. This theory proposed by Dolly. This theory assumes that during the glacial period, seawater is converted into ice caps into the polar regions. So the glacial period is there nearly at the formation of Earth. So in that particular time, the Earth surrounded by Earth covered by ice. Whenever the temperature is rises, the ice melts, so the ice convert into water, and where the water temperature near to 20 degrees Celsius and the sea surface to bottom 30 fathoms depth, so the gradually the corals are formed. The two the sea level about 150 feet, hence the several flat platforms of the sand mud are exposed. Okay, so generally the whenever ice melts takes place, the platforms are exposed. During the interglacial period, the sea level rose, the water gradually covered the platform. Further rise the temperature favor the coral growth to form the present barrier reef and atolls. So when according to Dolly glacial control theory, the earth surrounded by the ice or covered by the ice, whenever the temperature is increased, the ice undergoes melt. So the ice converted into water, the great oceans are formed. Where the temperature is 20 degrees Celsius, the sea surface to sea bottom, the depth is 30 depth is depth is 30 fathoms. Gradually the corals are formed. The two theories explained about these formation of coral reefs. Mainly coral reefs are three types: fringing reefs, barrier reef, atolls. Okay, so what is the importance of these coral reefs? Generally these Hinothcalia corals we generally used in ornaments, and some coral islands can, some corals are can make the islands, and the coral reefs also has a greater biodiversity. So the corals are used in monuments, and ornaments, and the corals can make the islands, and the coral has also biodiversity. The corals has also biodiversity. So by protect, for protecting this biodiversity, we can protect the coral islands and coral reefs. And whenever, one more important thing, so whenever we are navigating into sea, so we have to know where the coral islands are present, where the coral reefs are present. The mostly these ships are dashes to these coral islands, number of ships are drowned or sinken. So that is the idea, that is the importance of coral reefs. Okay, shall we stop here?